Have you ever noticed that you've reached a goal and it still doesn't feel like it's enough? That's always been the case for me. And if you don't know me, my name is Nadia, and this is She Builds Again. This is a space for women who are rebuilding and have decided to relocate internationally to build a better life for themselves, their partner, their family. And this is a space where I share tips and share parts of my story in a way to hopefully help you. So, in this episode, we're going to be talking all about enough and how, thankfully, this relocation that I've had to Bali at age 35 with my family has helped me to see that I am enough and that I have enough instead of always wanting more. So, the first thing that I wanted to talk about in this video is just the importance of taking a sigh and a breath and realizing that where you are is exactly where you had always wanted to be, where you had prayed to be many years ago. And I think that what happens is we get on this hamster wheel of always wanting something more and something bigger and something better. And we sometimes just have to pause and realize how far we've already come. And so I actually had this thought this morning. I was leaving my house and I was just filled with so much gratitude because I'm so happy in our new home. It's literally an answer to prayer. I didn't know when or if I would ever get our own home because my husband already had a house and a property in Bermuda, which is where we're from. And he had that property since he was 22 years old. He purchased it when he was young with his family. And it meant that once we got married, when we were 27, 28, there weren't really that many opportunities to get a home because he was already had a mortgage, and I just wasn't interested in taking on, thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt or a loan or anything like that. So anyways, all that said, I have really realized how grateful I am to be in a space that I actually really love. And I realized also this morning how far we've come since we've been in Bali. So we have literally moved around so much since we've been here. We first stayed in a guest house for maybe like 2 months when we were here. It's like a co-living, co-working space in Canggu. And it was really cheap and really affordable. And it gave us some time to figure out like the area and get our bearings a little bit, get our son settled in school. But it was literally like this one room, literally one room suite. And it had a ensuite bathroom, so like a shower and a toilet and a sink. That was it. And then there was like co-living spaces, like upstairs you had like an office on the very top floor and like a little cafe, and they could also make meals and things like that. And they also had a little kitchenette right outside our room because we were on the bottom floor. And we actually lived here. It was me and my son for a while until my husband came over a month later. And then when he came, we quickly realized like this is not enough space. We had so many bags, it was just impossible. And so I think they also were like not really expecting for a whole family to be in this co-living space. So we decided to move. We moved to our first house, which was in our budget, because we moved and relocated to Bali right after COVID. So it was in mid 2022. And we quickly realized that the prices of properties were going up in the area that we are in Barawa, in Canggu. And that's because after 2 years of having little to no rent and people like discounting their villas, they were like, okay, there's a lot of competition, there's a lot of people coming to Bali, let's up the prices. And so the prices were just astronomical. It was like $4,000 for a place, like a nice place. $3,000. We just couldn't find anything within our budget because we were trying to keep our costs as low as possible while we continue to just figure out life. We had no real idea of like what we're going to be doing long term. My husband had to not take a pay cut, but essentially because when he left his job, he was kept on as a remote consultant, but his hours were a lot less than he was used to with full-time work. And so we just didn't know how everything was going to pan out. So we were just living really simply. And our first place that we moved into after the guest house was this open concept, I guess, house. And it was 3 bedrooms. It was actually a lot of space, but it was outdated. It wasn't really our style. And the worst part was that there was no doors on the kitchen and living room area downstairs. And so it just went to like the outside in the pool. And I think I see sometimes like these beautiful villas and they have like this open concept living arrangement and it looks really lovely, but in reality, it is a nightmare because you realize that you're going to get mosquitoes all the time that are just flying around. You're going to get rats and mice that can come into your house because you can't close the doors, right? And so they can just run in and out. It was just horrible. And so I think we lived there for a few months and we actually did pay to get doors on because I was like, I can't live like this. Like, even if this isn't my house, I'm going to pay to get these doors on because this is not comfortable for me at all. And so after that, we were looking for a place. And how it works in Bali is usually to get like the best rates or the best discounts, I guess, or best fees, you normally pay up front for at least a year for your rent, maybe more than a year. So if you pay for 2 years, you get a discounted rate. If you pay for 5 years, it might be even more discounted on the monthly rate, and then 10 years, etc. And so we were looking at longer term leaseholds because you cannot own as a foreigner here in Bali. So we were looking for longer term leaseholds for a property so that we could stay. And if we decided to leave, we would sell it or rent it out. And that's what we did with our third place that we moved into. And so after I'll call it the open concept house, we moved to a really small build. It was like a really small 2-bedroom villa. And in my head, it was going to be enough for us because we were just a family of 3. But things quickly changed and I realized how small this thing was. Like in the pictures, even when we kind of walked through some of the model houses, model villas, it didn't feel that small. But when I was actually living in it and we had unpacked, it was just so tiny. And I just knew it wasn't somewhere that we could grow. We couldn't entertain, we couldn't have anybody over because it was so small. When we had guests, it was like tight. And yeah, it was just too small for us. And the kitchen and living room were like this small, tiny little area, probably maybe the size of this living room that I'm in right now. And yeah, it just was so uncomfortable. Anyways, long story short, we eventually, especially when I got pregnant and we knew that we were going to have another baby, we decided that we were going to buy some land. And so we did that. We wanted more land. We wanted to build a bigger house. And we decided to go that direction. And so that's kind of been our journey in Bali. And now we live in a 3-bedroom villa, but it's around 3 times the size of our tiny villa in terms of square space. And it's not huge. It's not like a mansion. We have friends who live in like these gorgeous sprawling villas with huge pools and everything. And the thing is, but I'm so happy here. I'm just so grateful that we have this space. Like we designed it with an architect. We were able to find some really beautiful land here. We got to pick out the fixtures. We got to pick out our appliances. We got to pick out our color of our couch. We got to just design it as a family. It's literally the first time me and my husband have been able to like both weigh in and pick how we wanted our house to look like. We have like an area for our kids and we'll design that next. There's like basically like a big huge patio area upstairs for the kids, and we're gonna put some artificial grass down, and we're gonna like hopefully have like a little, what is it called, like a goal for soccer and maybe some outdoor sports. I have no idea, but I'm just really excited that we have this space, and it's exactly what we need right now for our family. When we have guests, we can have them stay with us. It's been such a blessing. And I think what I realized this morning when I was in that moment of gratitude was that, yes, there are more beautiful homes out there. Yes, there are people who are living, way more luxuriously than us. But I don't care. I don't care. I'm so thankful for how far we've come and this space that we get to call our own, and this space that feels comfortable and safe. And I'm just happy here. I'm just so happy here. And so that's the journey that I've been on, but I just wanted to talk about enoughness, and I wanted to talk about the importance of not just constantly having a goal and trying to run toward a bigger goal, and thinking about what do you actually want and need in this season, and can you be content when you get that thing, or are you going to just be happy for a moment and then think of something bigger and think of something better? Because I really, really do believe that if you can find a way to be grateful for where you are, and even just the fact that I'm here in Bali, I literally hoped and prayed this day would come for maybe at least 10 years. And when I think back even further, Bali was first planted in my head 20 years ago. I was like 18 or 19 years old when I first heard that there was this country called Bali, and read about it in a book, and read about what life could be like, and imagined what life could be like in a different part of the world from where I was from. I was from Bermuda, and I went to university in Canada for a few years, and it was cold, and it was, freezing, and negative 20 plus degree weather in the winter, and you only saw the sun for a few months of the year. And I definitely had like seasonal depression. And look, I'm here. I'm living in Bali, Indonesia. Like, to me, it's just really, really incredible that I get this opportunity, and realizing that you're living in a prayer that you once had, for the marriage, for the kids, for the career, for the home, for the finances. All of these things are such amazing blessings, and I don't think that we give it enough gratitude and thankfulness for everything that we have. Like, we have roofs over our head, we are waking up in the morning, we have air in our lungs. There are so many simple things to be grateful for, but just this idea of enoughness and not always striving for more is, I think, a beautiful place to get to, and a beautiful season to be in my own chapter. So before I go, I want to leave you with a couple of questions to ask yourself. If you are feeling like you're always desiring more and it's never good enough, and you're always figuring out what's next, what's the bigger thing, how can I strive for more and more? Number one, I want you to ask yourself this question: what does enough look like in this season of my life? And so I think so often I remember like these goal setting exercises I would do that would encourage you and really ask you to think about the biggest possible dream that you could have. And they say these things like, if it's not scary as hell, then it's not big enough. You're not dreaming big enough. And I understand like the theory behind it, like reach for the stars and you might just land on the moon. Is that what it's called? Reach for the moon. Anyways, reach for the moon, you might just end up in the stars or something. But what is like a joyous, comfortable, wonderful, peaceful, enough place that you could actually be, instead of the more place and the biggest place that you can possibly think of? Like, when I think of the biggest dream in my head, it's like, maybe it's a 6-figure a month business, or maybe it's a, multi-million-dollar retirement fund and I can retire at 40. There's different things that I think that would be like, incredible and the biggest dream I could possibly envision. But like, what is enough look like? What does enough instead look like for you? And so it might just be that you need 6 figures a year. Maybe that would allow you to live comfortably and save and invest and still have a beautiful, happy, content life. And so really get clear on what enough looks like for you in this season. And so the second question I want you to answer is, how would it feel to be truly grateful for the enough that you have? The ways that you are already enough inside, and the ways that many things that you have, your job, your income, your environment, your house, is already enough. And then the last thing I want you to think of and it's hopefully a little bit of a challenge. But I want you to think of, if you close your eyes, how would you show up if enough, you allowed enough to be enough? How would you show up if you allowed enough to be enough? And so I think that for me, at least, if I was answering that question, I would show up calmer in so many areas of my life. I would show up and not feel so much pressure that I need to juggle 20 different balls at once. I would be present with my kids instead of thinking about my billion point to-do list. I would stop, creating these big, massive goals and plans and dreams for every single quarter, year, etc. And just maybe keep it simple and maybe just strive to do maybe 2 or 3 things every year, every quarter that will stretch me, allow me to just challenge myself a little bit while also being content and happy with where I am. And so those are the things I really would encourage you to do if you have made it to this point in the episode, in the video. And let me know in the comments, like, if you actually did answer those questions, what does enough feel like for you? And do you already have enough in your life in this season? And can you find contentment in that? So let me know in the comments, and I hope you don't forget to like and subscribe. I'm continuing to share about my journey with relocation, and I'm really hoping that I will continue to build an awesome community here online. So thanks so much for joining with me, and I'll see you in another episode. Bye for now.